and welcome to this first look exploring session looking at Rhodon and Iris, a pastoral as it was presented at the Florists Feast in Norwich on May the 3rd, 1631. It was a Tuesday. I don't know if that information is helpful, but that is apparently a fact, and we're going to spend a couple of sessions looking at this interesting play and find out how it functions. It comes with a whole bunch of introductory epistles and general arse-licking to various people for the worthiness of this. To the right worshipful Nicholas Bacon, considering your true affection of poesy, which no doubt proceeds from your singular perfection in that art, arslick, etc. So there's the usual bump, but then we actually get to the play, which hopefully we will enjoy. It is going to speak of the fairest of vegetals, flowers, the minions of the spring, and for their beauties deserving the title of terrestrial stars. So we're going to see how all that comes to pass. So reading today, Poneria, Clematis, Martagon, and Iris is
Liza Graham in London for my sins and yours.
Reading Agnostus, Cynosbatus. Oh dear, that's going horribly wrong. And Acanthus is...
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm not sure how Liza knows about our sins, but I'm happy to have you have mine if you want them. Happy to share, always.
Reading Prologue, Eglantine, Anthophotus, and Violetta is...
Desna in Lancaster, untroubled by sins.
Reading Messenger, Panace, and Gladiolus is...
Tom from Brighton, and could do with some sin.
Couldn't we all? And reading Rhodon of the title is...
Rachel, and I'm joining from the north of England, where sins are unheard of.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'm going to move on from the sins and just get on with the flowers. I am your host. I'll be reading stage directions. So, without further ado, we're going to dive into a prologue and maybe a first scene as well. I don't know. It depends on how exciting the prologue turns out to be. The prologue then will prologue. It's a Tuesday. It's May. It's 1631. Let's find out what's going to go down at this Flora Festival.
Candid spectators, you that are invited to see the lily and the rose united, consider that this comedy of ours, a nosegay, is composed of sundry flowers, which we selected with some small expense of time to please each one that hath a sense. But if this glorious cynic crown contains a head that wants a competence of brains, we could desire his absence and be glad that one more wise his seat or standing hath. Because experience shows that such as he, the greatest enemies to science be. But what the noddy cannot understand, he will seek to disparage underhand, branding eternal lines with black disgrace, because they do his numbers smooth surpass. For this bold critic would have the world know it, that he no small fool is, though a small poet. But with Icarian wings, why strives he thus to mount Parnassus tops with Pegasus? When 'tis most meet that he with asses meek his pasture at the mountain's feet should seek on thistles wild, and breaks there let him nabble, while Pegasus does make the skies his stable. But you, judicious friends, that well descry the strength and worth of noble poesy, that can discreetly judge of what is done, we crave your favour and attention, and shall applaud the fortune of our muse if aught worth your acceptance we produce.
I think we'll just pause there. It's a nice little prologue. I rather enjoyed that. It sort of bounced along quite nicely. It had some nice little imagery flowing in there. Any thoughts on the prologue? It's very, to the event specific, and yeah, it bounced along quite nicely. I don't know if anyone has anything additional to add on that point, but I sometimes look for prologues that you could recycle in a different context. I don't think you can. I think this is very, very, very event specific. But a nosegay of comedy, perhaps. Any thoughts in the room before I go on? Liza. Muted at the moment.
I'm not sure what this. I mean, we know what a nosegay is, and that's cool. It's a little bouquet. But then this glorious cynic crown. I'm not sure what they mean by that. Or perhaps they mean scenic, like the stage in the round, perhaps. So saying, well, if there's anyone in the audience who's too dense to get it, we kind of wish someone smarter were in your seat. Sorry, not sorry.
It's either that there's a crown of flowers around the prologue's head or something, and he's talking about himself.
Perhaps.
But yeah.
But then he talks about, and again, this is very relevant to our times. He talks about the naughty being an enemy to science.
I don't know that Noddy was against science. Big ears, perhaps, but sorry, I'm being very silly. I will stop. Okay, let's gather some data from the play itself. Act 1, Scene 1. Enter Poneria and Agnostus.
Is the world's eye not yet asleep?
Hath love not yet put on his starry nightcap? No, nor Juno her spangled smock.
What hath Hesperus forgot to light heaven's tapers up, or be the chariot wheels of night o'erloaden with the leaden weights of sleep, that she delays to throw her misty veil o'er the base of things?
Blind ignorance that gropest in Cimmerian darkness, that liest enveloped in the shades of everlasting night, that want'st those glorious spectacles of nature, those crystalline spheres that should illumine thy microcosmos. Why dost thou thus malign the guiltless light, she being the fairest creature that nature ever made?
I hate her because she is light. I say she is the mistress of disquiet and unrest, and breeds more troubles in the world than one of my young hungry lawyers in a commonwealth, or a schismatical self-conceited coxcomb in an ancient corporation. I could Ulysses-like burn out the eye of that celestial polytheme, or raise dull chaos from Demogorgon's cell to quench the world's unnecessary luminaries.
Bold ignorance, thou idol of these times, that o'er a woolen wit oft wear'st a satin cap, and sometimes at our bacchanalian feasts appear'st as brave as a canonical saint in a calendar. I hug thy resolution, stupid devil, that dost with generous malice amply supply what is defective in thy intellect. But if thou'lt give my faithful counsel leave for to divert the torrent of thy wrath, then lend a facile ear to my advice. Bend not thy bootless hate against that orb of light whose mighty flames will scorch the impious wings of these nocturnal birds, that shall attempt with talons most profane to injure his bright beauty. A meaner object than this shall satisfy thy wrath and my displeasure. This is the day whereon the new society of florists have determined to keep their annual festivals, whose pompous celebration hath wont to eclipse all feasts besides, the Olympian games and Isthmian plays, with all those ludicrous and ludibrious combats, are but mere puppet plays to this grand feast. For art and nature both have tried to make this feast surpass all feasts beside. Unite thy force with mine, then 10 to 1 we shall disturb their mirth ere we have done.
Then mischief, lend me all thy guilty nerves, that flames of boundless fury quite dispel Lethean dullness from my clouded brain. Assist our great design, ye subterraneous powers that utterly abhor to view the glaring light. Let not the weakness of my crazed intellectuals, nor this loathed deficiency of my sense, be prejudicial to the bent of my design. Poneria, act thy part, for I am thine.
Yes, they exit. It's quite Panto-esque, isn't it? You've got the sort of evil characters coming and go, oh, shall we be evil? Yes, and it has that nice meta quality as well of going, this is the day whereon the new Society of Florists have determined to keep their annual festivals, which is literally, of course, the day that this is actually happening. So it's presumably partly site specific as well as event specific. And yet I'm really enjoying it, even though it's it's clearly not really meant for anyone who's not a florist, or in Norwich in 1631. Especially as when you hear florists, you're sort of thinking of more into flora than you are, whereas I suspect it's a slightly different usage. I don't know how the Society of Florists functioned, or what they precisely did. I don't know if anyone in the room has any knowledge on that. I'm just assuming that it's slightly different to what we think of today on some level. But yeah, it was really bounced along. I think Eric put in the chat that there is some. Is it? I don't know. The verse looks a bit irregular to me just looking at it. I don't know whether it bounces along irregularly. I haven't analysed it. Liza.
I think whomever wrote this, the prologue is in iambic pentameter, blank verse. Yeah, you could relineate some of Agnostus's speeches to be more regular, but perhaps the point is that he, as the personification of ignorance, perhaps he's ignorant of verse structure.
Yeah, because it doesn't look like there's just that it's slightly out or something's gone wrong with it. It does look deliberate. That we have these quite ridiculously long lines and then very short line.
It's still iambic. Or be the chariot wheels of night, or loaden with the leaden weights of sleep, that she delays to throw her misty veil upon the face of things. It whooshes along.
Yeah. Oh no. Listening to it, I didn't have a problem with it. I was just looking at it on the page, just going, as Eric was saying, it's a bit odd. Eric.
Yeah, also you get that really long one. Or a schismatical, self-conceited coxcomb in an ancient corporation. That's a mouthful, even if you don't say it at 10 words. Even if you don't say it at full speed. Yeah, I don't know. I like this scene. It's I'm bored. Let's plot. Let's do something. It's very Loki-esque in this way. It's sort of like, let's do something fun. Let's destroy this. Let's crash the party.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Poneria is listed as a witch in the Dramatis Personae, which I think is probably original. So there's a lot of fun to be had with how you depict that. Okay, let's dive into a different scene with some different people. Act 1, Scene 2. Enter one of the title characters. Enter Rhodon and Acanthus.
Rhodon, my honored, soul united friend, cast off that dusky melancholy veil too vile a robe for thy majestic brow. Blast not the pride of Hyblas happiness with thy offensive passion.
Nay, good Acanthus, did love e'er offend any?
And art not thou the map of love's calamity? Witness those crystal bowls of thy bright eyes, which I have seen swelled up with brinish tears, prepared for sorrow's bitter beverage. Witness those frequent tempests of thy sighs, which made thy breast a fiery sea of dolour. Witness those pallid cheeks whose glorious hue Aurora late envied, and quite despairing to reach thy beauty's height, with Cupid entreated and him suborned to wound thy generous heart, which no base passion ever durst assault, that now, like pale Narcissus on the brink of the begilding stream, thou liest a-dying.
I tell thee, brazen colossi, marble statue, whose heart love's darts can never penetrate. Love is the prince of all affections, and like the element of fire, transcends his brothers in activity and splendor.
It is a fire indeed that doth consume all virtuous actions, that feeds upon men's souls like the fiend Eurynomus upon dead carcasses, that makes the microcosmos a mere chaos. It is the remora of all noble enterprises, and the Lernaean fen, which breeds a hydra crested with 1,000 inconveniences. Let me ne'er inherit more than my father's hempland, or ne'er be owner of more wit than some elder brothers, if I think not Cupid the most pernicious deity among all the Olympian senators. Oh, that I had but Stentor's lungs to thunder out the vanity of that idol.
Now I hope you have railed yourself out of breath, and therefore I may now have time to speak. Thus 'tis, dear friend Acanthus, I confess that once I loved the Lady Eglantine, whose rare endowments both of art and nature, well corresponding with high birth and fortune, did moderately attract my sincere love. Which love, conspiring with a strong desire to see the customs of some foreign nations and know the manners of people far remote, made me to greet the princely dame with a personal visitation. Then my indulgent stars did me advise for to suspend my suit, whose counsel I obeyed. But trust me, friend, thou wert too much mistaken to think that love had scorched or sinned so much the wings of reason that I must needs fall and perish in the furnace of despair. Thou art a bad constructor of my thoughts, if thou think'st 'tis love which makes me sad. Yea, thou oft times dost take thy marks amiss to think me sad. Perhaps when, as my mind, upraised above the sphere of terrene, things, is ravished with celestial contemplation. For earthly passion hath no power at all to work upon an elevated soul. Passions are stars to lower orbs confined, scorching an earthly, not a heavenly mind. Yet I am not so much a stoic or a stock to plume the pinions of the immortal soul, who while she's cloistered in this cell of clay, moves with the wings of the affections. But lest she, like to heedless Icarus, should soar too high a pitch, or like young Phaeton should shape her course too low, Jove hath appointed wise virtue for to regulate her flight. Of these affections, love the empress is, who while she stands submiss to reason's law, doth keep the fabric of the little world in frame. Love is a genial goddess, the Lucina, which doth produce each honourable achievement, which this true axiom evidently proves, nobilitas sub amore jacet, had not the spriteful flames of love egged on that Theban Kilcrow mighty Hercules to brave adventures, he perhaps had died as much inglorious as did base Thersites. Had not the fair Andromache beheld from Trojan towers Hector's valiant acts among the Greeks amid the Phrygian fields, the gallant dames of Troy then might perchance most justly have preferred Achilles far before him. 'Tis this heroical passion that incends the sparks of honour in each noble mind, making dull sluggards study industry, and animating each unlearned head to toil in arts and liberal sciences, even to the high degree of rare proficience. Then cease, Acanthus, with thy lawless tongue, true love's condition to malign or wrong.
Thou zealous patron of the winged boy, well, thou hast pleaded thy blind archer's case. Pray Jove, thou mayest deserve a lusty fee for this Herculean labour of thy tongue.
So cease these malapert invectives, friend. Cupid is armed with fire and arrows keen to be avenged on those that shall him spleen.
When Sol shall make the eastern cease his bed, when wolves and sheep shall be together fed, when stars shall fall and planets cease to wander, when Juno proves abroad and Jupiter pander, when Venus shall turn chaste and Bacchus become sober, when fruit in April's ripe that blossomed in October, when prodigals shall lend money on use and usurers prove lavish and profuse, when art shall be esteemed and golden pelf laid down, when fame shall tell all truth and fortune cease to frown, to Cupid's yoke then I my neck will bow. Till then I will not fear love's fatal blow.
Wert thou a mere spirit, then I confess and think this resolution might endure. But so long as thy soul wears robes of earth, laced all with veins that o'er a crimson deep set forth an azure bright, needs must thy heart yield to the force of Cupid's golden dart.
And they probably exit. So, yes, discussions of love and Cupid and back and forth kind of things along those lines. How were we? Again, I'm really enjoying the flow of it. And the relationship between these two is working quite nicely. It's setting up interesting possibilities as to where we're going to go, but hasn't really delivered excessive amounts of plot yet. It's more setup than action. Thoughts on the room? How did it flow for people, Eric?
I feel like Acanthus has actually already met like Vampire Cupid, maybe that we've seen in other plays, and he's decided that he's not a goth and he's not going to like hang out with him. But also, I just like you, because this is an early modern play. You kind of know that something is gonna happen, and Acanthus is gonna fall in love because, of course, he goes, "I will never, ever, ever, ever line fall in love," and it's like, yeah, this can't possibly go wrong.
Yeah, and for disambiguation here, Vampire Cupid is the personification of Cupid in Tancred and Gismunda, which is just a particularly violent imagery that Cupid uses.
As beautifully portrayed by Eric and available on our YouTube channel.
In lots of different versions, frankly, because we've still got one more to do. It's quite a bloody play. Anyway, other thoughts on what this little scene was doing, and Liza.
Oh,
and then Rachel.
Wait, I've talked plenty. Rachel had her hand up.
Okay, Rachel.
I'm not sure I'm allowed to say what I thought because it reminded me of a certain scene in the play whose author we're not to mention.
Then sadly you're just going to have to move on.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. I mean, we're all fans of that guy, but anyway, I really liked the "never ever gonna ever fall in love" speech. I liked all the antitheses. The prophecy saying, when a bunch of things that will never happen, then I'll fall in love. No, I liked it. I liked the rhyme. That's the bit of that scene that pinged out for me, although it's a very nice scene overall. And I have to say, Rhodon's speech, it looks long on the page, but it doesn't feel long, especially not when so well spoken. So...
Yeah, and what I really like about the speech is it starts by going, right, have you finished? You've talked for long enough. I'm going to talk for longer, actually, but yeah. And I just quite liked that. It's my turn. Thank you, Eric.
I just like they kind of seem to criticize each other. I don't know if maybe it's been inserted by the actors or like sort of commentary, but it just kind of like, "Pray Jove, thou mayst deserve a lusty fee for this Herculean labor of thy tongue." Like, you've spent enough time talking. Shut up. basically. It's just, I don't know, it's interesting. It's doing lots of interesting things that feel a bit meta as well.
Yeah. Tom.
It's also the first read, so I think you could really, really plumb the depths on this. It is beautifully written.
Yeah, I think there is stuff that we can do more with this further down the line, and it's always a challenge. This is I think structurally, I think this isn't exactly a spoiler. Structurally, a lot of this play does feature quite a few of these sort of two-handed scenes, and you know, sometimes that goes perfectly well, but you do need an author who knows how to make the scenes, you know, bounce along, because sometimes they can get a bit bogged down. I think that one did well. Let us gather more. We might run a couple of scenes into each other. Yes, we will. Act 1, Scene 3. Enter Clematis, and Eglantine will enter a little later on.
Oh, impotent desires, allay the sad consort of a sublime fortune whose most ambitious flames disdain to burn in simple cottages, loathing a hard, unpolished bed, but coveting to shine beneath a canopy of rich Sidonian purple, all embroidered with purest gold and oriental pearls, in tessellated pavements and gilded roofs, supported by proud artificial columns of polished ivory and marble, doth love delight there. Doth he like a mighty tyrant rage, subverting the whole edifice of reason with his impetuous conflagration. That this is true, the gentle shepherdess fair Eglantine doth evidently show, for she, a sister to the great Cynosbatus, was courted lately by the shepherd Rhodon, whose suit she entertained with due respect, requiting love with love. But fate, it seems, not condescending that great Hymen should accomplish their desires, forbade the banns, and Rhodon hath relinquished his suit, and is returned to Hybla sweet, whose flowery veils began to droop and wither in his absence. But Eglantine remains disconsolate, like to a turtle that hath lost her mate. Oh, see where she comes, expressing in her face a perfect map of melancholy. I will retire, because I well descry she's out of love with all society.
Enter Eglantine with her lute. Clematis retires.
Address thyself, sweet warbling instrument, my sorrow's sad companion, to tune forth thy melancholy notes, somewhat to slake those furious flames that scorch my tender heart.
And she sings and plays upon the lute. You don't have to sing.
I may speak. Upon the black rock of despair, my youthful joys are perished quite. My hopes are vanished into air, my day is turned to gloomy night. For since my Rhodon day is gone, hope, light, nor comfort have I none. A cell where grief the landlord is shall be my palace of delight, where I will woo with thoughts and sighs sweet death to end my sorrows quite. Since I have lost my Rhodon dear, death's fleshless arms, why should I fear?
Enter Clematis to her.
What time shall end thy sorrows, sweetest Eglantine?
Such grief as mine cannot be cured by time. But when the gentle fate shall disembogue my weary soul, and that celestial substance free from irksome manacles of clay, then may I find, if not of sweet repose in blessed Elysium, yet some refrigeration in those shades where Dido and Hypsipyle do wander.
Exit Eglantine.
Thou gentle goddess of the woods and mountains, that in the woods and mountains art adored, the maiden patroness of chaste desires, which art for chastity renowned most. Très grande Diana, who hath power to cure the rankling wounds of Cupid's golden arrows, thy precious balsam deign thou to apply unto the heart of woeful Eglantine. Then we thy gracious favor will requite with a young kid, the new fallen snow more white.
Exit Clematis. We'll dive straight into Act 1, Scene 4. Enter Cynosbatus and Martagon.
My honored friend, most noble Martagon, whom Willem didst with thy imperial power command the mountains proud and humble plains of happy Thessaly, who hath eclipsed the splendor of thy light, and clipped those wings that did o'ershade these fields from east to west. Each shepherd that we want to feed his flocks upon these fertile meads was wont while ere to pay the tribute of his primest lambs. But now, as one cooped in an angle up, thou art compelled to satisfy thyself with a small portion of that sovereignty which thou didst erst enjoy.
Dear friend Cynosbatus, if that the world had been composed in a cubic form and not orbicular, or if this globe were destined to be aught else than fortune's ball by alterations racket banded to and fro, then justly mightst thou wonder to behold my present state so short of my precedent height. Nor doth this monster change bear sway alone o'er elements, men, beasts, and plants. But those celestial bodies that are framed of purer constellations are compelled to be obedient to her awful doom. Rear up thine eyes unto the spangled cope, and there behold Jove's star-enchased belt, the glittering zodiac wonderfully changed in a few thousand years. For those fixed stars which like a diamond clear adorn the baldric of the Thunderer have wandered from their former stations. Witness the golden ram, who now is gone astray, and shouldered hath the Cretan bull, and he, those twins of Jove, so sore hath butted that they have crushed the crab, and thrust him quite into the den of the Nemean lion. Thus, by the change of these superior bodies, strange alterations in the world are wrought, great empires maimed, and kingdoms brought to naught. And that auspicious lamp who freely lends his light to lesser fires, the prince of generation, even Sol himself, is 5 degrees declined since learned Ptolemy did take his height. But if Egyptian wizards we may trust, who in astrology wont to excel, by them 'tis told that 4 times they have seen that glorious charioteer flit from his place. Twice hath he rose, they say, where now he sets, and twice declined where he now doth rise. If these celestial powers, whose influence commands terrestrial substances, be object to mutation, then needs must sublunar things submit themselves to change. Then wonder not, good friend Cynosbatus, to see my state and power diminished thus.
'Tis true, dear Martagon. Experience shows that alteration every day brings forth a new birth of effects.
But I prithee, friend, satisfy me in one thing.
My bosom's yours. Take from that cabinet the choicest secrets that can pleasure you. Tell me what in your wills to be resolved.
There is a rumor spread through Thessaly that your fair sister, Madame Eglantine, shall be espoused to the shepherd Rhodon, the prince of all the swains that dwell on Hybla.
From no grounds this rumor sprang, though the fates did cross what was by us intended.
Then there's no expectation of my nuptial rite.
No, all's dissolved.
I thank my stars for that.
Your reason, noble friend?
Akin he is to that male-spirited dame, that stout virago, that proud shepherdess called Violetta, who complains of wrongs late suffered at my hands, and he's the man by whom she hopes to be avenged on me for this pretended injury. And had he matched your sister, sweet Eglantine, then might I have had cause for to suspect your love not to be sound, since you accepted so great a foe of mine for your near friend.
Then I'm glad the fates would not agree that I should lose so true a friend as thee.
And they exit, and we pause. So we have two scenes, Eglantine, Clematis, and Cynosbatus, Martagon. And we're starting to sort of weave this world together a bit more, of interrelations between people, and sort of relationships that are or are not happening. And yes, Eglantine's not very happy. Eglantine's quite sad, things are not necessarily going the right way for Eglantine there. We get a song. Always nice to have a song. I don't know of any music. There might be music available for it, but I don't think there is any. Thoughts from the room about them or Martagon. I haven't quite got Martagon and Cynosbatus in my head. It's a bit vague. Violetta, who complains of wrongs late suffered at my hands. What did you do, Martagon? What did you do? It's all a bit vague. What crimes have you done?
Martagon offended Violetta somehow.
Yeah,
is what I got from that.
Yeah, but it's all very vague, and it's wrongs. So. Of some description.
I'm sure Violetta will be along to tell us at some point.
I'm sure we will find out more. But yeah, there's rumour spread. Eglantine will be espoused to Rhodon, but that doesn't seem to be where we were left in the previous scene. So it's interesting news travelling at different speeds and different things going on, and where we are with where everybody is in this world. Thoughts in the room while I look something up. Someone speak. Eric.
I'm just intrigued that, early modern drama isn't always the most direct things, but this is taking very roundabout routes to say things. I feel like Hemingway would have a fit reading this. Just pretty friend, satisfy me in one thing, and then instead of going, sure, tell me, he just goes, 3 lines of thing. And it's just kind of, my bosom's yours, take from that cabinet the most secret, the choicest secret that can pleasure you. It seems a bit roundabout instead of sort of going, just tell me what you want.
Yes, it is. Yes. I do quite like those 2 lines. They are very florid, but I do quite like them.
Rather suggestive.
Yes. Other thoughts, Liza?
Well, this scene, there's a lot of things in this scene that are hinted at and not explained, and I like this. I like when writers don't over-explain; they just let you know that something is going on. And the opening of the scene, there seems to be exposition of the Martagon. This used to be like his empire, or and all the shepherds used to pay him tribute. Is he some sort of landlord? Basically, what was Martagon and what happened to make him lose whatever power it was he had?
Yes, there might be more data on that later on in the play. Okay. We have at least one more scene. This is a scene with lots of people in. So, yes, one more scene for Act 1. So, Act 1, Scene 5. Enter Rhodon. If I say Rhodon at any point, just ignore me. It's fine. It's very different. Enter Rhodon, Anthophotus, Acanthus, Iris, and Panace.
Never till now did my high metas flourish. More blessed effects hath thy sweet presence wrought, honoured Rhodon, than could have been produced by moist-winged Zephyrus or Favonius, who fans our flowers with his gentle breath.
Thanks, good Anthophotus.
No, doth our sister Iris hold herself meanly engaged to you for this your gracious visit?
To be the meanest servant of so sweet a saint is the full height and scope of my ambition.
Iris, Liza?
Oh, bugger, yes. Forgot I was Iris. I'm Iris.
Yes, only one of the title characters. It's fine.
Fair sir, I wish you would be pleased to employ your service on an object of more worth.
Dissemble not, admired shepherdess, for thou art she that art as far beyond that light piece of beauty Helena Greece in outward perfections, as she was short of thee in inward graces. Yea, had those 50 kings that did for her engage themselves in a long tedious war seen but the model of thy rare beauty, drawn by the hand of but a rude painter, doubtless they had their honours forfeited, and broke that sacred oath which they had ta'en, their work in hand they had relinquished quite, and left the walls of wretched Troy untouched. For each attracted with thy beauty's splendour, no seas nor perils would have left unpassed to find thee in the furthest angle of the world.
Could my perfections, valued at the highest rate, but countervail a dram of your great worth, then should I think myself born under stars most happy and auspicious.
So cease your compliments, dear Rhodon. Let empty casks and hollow symbols speak that airy language which unworthy is of your realities.
Pardon me, gentle sir. This radiant star, my judgment's feeble eyes did dazzle so, that I was forced to speak what passion did inform me.
Enter a messenger.
Which is the shepherd, Rhodon?
I am the man.
Then thou? Then you are he whom Violetta greets.
How fares my sister?
This letter shall relate what I can never utter.
Exit messenger.
Pray Jove, we have good news. Methinks I saw a pallid horror settled in the face of the sad messenger. Be it good or ill, we are resolved to see it, come what will.
He opens and reads the letter.
I, Violetta, much distressed by Martagon, my mortal foe, your succour humbly do request to set me free from servile woe. Our flowers he hath trampled on, our gardens turned to thickets wild, our fields and meads he hath o'errun, that we are forced to live exiled. We therefore do your aid implore, us to our freedom to restore, your distressed sister Violetta. Violetta, 'twas for no good that the late shag-haired comet with his erected staring looks did overlook our frighted flocks, who all amazed poor wretches at such a horrid unexpected sight, ere Hesperus scanned from the west to peep half empty, did retire unto their folds again. Nor were those idle fires which late we saw, hang like a flaming canopy above us when we did walk the round about our folds to keep the war wolf from our lambs by night. But is't possible that man should be so savage to vent his rage upon a silly woman?
'Tis no wonder, gentle sir, at all. When Prometheus formed his man of clay, 'tis said that he did to his stomach out the raging fury of a lion face.
'Tis true, but histories report that a lion did the suppliant Gaetulian virgin spare, scorning to make so innocent a creature his prey or quarry.
Foul shame and infamy it is, God wot, that manly might should women weak oppose, whom they by right for life ought to defend.
Rhodon, do thou but say amen, and amen, and I will in an instant raise our spriteful youth and lead them on with such a vigorous force against the most inhumane Martagon that we will pull the craven from his nest, disrobing him of all his borrowed plumes and repossessing Violetta of her own.
In actions of such consequence as this, we must not be too precipitous. Mature deliberation must conclude what should be done in such a main design. The stately steed that with a full career attempts to mount the brow of the steep hill oft breaks his wind ere he can reach the height, but the slow snail, without or harm or peril, in time ascends unto the mountain's top. For that true love we owe to Thessaly, in which affection all we are engaged. We by a friendly treaty will endeavour to bring the usurper to a restitution. But if the olive branch will do no good, then let the scourge of war itself disclose they that our friendship scorn must be our foes.
And if my right hand fail to second thee, then for a peasant let me count it be.
Excellent. Rhodon, Anthophotus, Iris. Panace offers to go out and is stayed by Acanthus.
Nay, stay, fair nymph. I would request a private conference with you.
If that I could with affairs dispense, I gladly should embrace your conference. But my occasion bid me haste away. Sweet sir, adieu. I can no longer stay.
Exit Panace.
I that late was made of Scythian snow and Hyperborean ice am now quite thawed in the incessant flames of hot desire. A new Vesuvius burns within my breast, and shall I overturn those noble trophies which I most firmly have on virtue sounded, or shall I singe the wings of reason so in the outrageous flames of passion that I must needs fall down and perish quite in the black, hideous gulf of deep despair? No, I will not. Of this I am resolved, whatsoever befall, or not to love too much, or not at all.
Exit Acanthus, and Eric can say, I told you so. Yes, indeed,
but
you
that
did.
Was so quick. I mean, like, one act he just saw her. Anyway, yeah.
Glancing across the room, he's had a whole scene while everybody else is reading letters about how the Martagon and his brutal flower trampling. We found out what Martagon's done, and he hath trampled on our gardens, turned to thickets wild.
Could there be a more villainous act in a florist's pageant?
Exactly.
He stomps on flowers, you guys.
Yeah, this is the worst of crimes that you could imagine. And I really like that they sort of give it this weight and this stuff. And we've got this and I must say, Desna doing Anthophotus was just that's pitch perfect as well in this sort of courting scene, this formal courting scene that's going on here. It's just yeah, that's fine. Shall we go and drink? It's it's the person who's standing there with a glass and everyone keeps doing the toast. Can we get to the toast? I just want to drink the drink, please. Other thoughts? Who wants? Rachel.
But the trampling garden stuff. Presumably it's not literal. Presumably it's all so much virginity stuff, isn't it?
Well, it's probably
or a bit of both.
A bit of both. I think this play is very. In this sense, as everyone's pretty much a flower, that means he's trampling all over everywhere. So he's violated her in various ways. But I think there's probably children present, so they don't want to go to. I don't know. I'm assuming this is a very public performance, so maybe they want to keep it, universal, rather than going to a sort of 15, 18 certificate. Tom?
It's just, it's quite muscular, isn't it, for the actor? You got to do a lot of. You've got to have your chops. You've got to be in the play and be immersed in it. Because it's as I say, it's quite muscular in that respect.
And even the little parts, have something. They've got something physical to do as well as what they're saying. Is the messenger has to come on with pallid horror settled in the face. You really don't want to open that letter. It's clearly not good news. It's like, yeah, I really don't want to be here when you open this. I'm off. I suppose if every character here is a plant, then so perhaps actually Martagon's just actually slaughter. It's the equivalent of a mass slaughter. Actually, that's actually quite violent, even more violent as well to more potentially more people. Not a great guy. Any other thoughts before we go into Act 2?
But also he's like Eglantine's brother's best friend. which is not like that doesn't reflect very well on Cynosbatus either.
Yes, increasingly we're getting all these interconnections, and I'm starting to wonder if I can keep them all together in my head. I don't know if they are connected, actual connected floral things, whether things are associated with other flowers, and whether it's all actually really clever in a way that I just don't know about. That's one I'm sure either, some research will tell us. Eric again.
Also, I have 2 points. One is that, I think Scythian snow wouldn't really make sense as a comparison. Anyway, maybe that's just me, because I think, as far as I know, Scythia is meant to be somewhere in Libya or something, or somewhere south in Africa. But I don't know. I need to look that up. I think Desna had something to say to that, but I don't know.
I thought Scythia's idea was, I'm pointing to an imaginary map that none of you can see, was sort of east and north of, I don't know, I guess where, this is based in Greece, isn't it? So, yeah, north and east. I'm going to look for a map.
Yes.
And you're right, like Central Asia, isn't it?
My other observation was that this is very fast. I mean, we've only just got to know these characters, and already they're going to go to war over something.
Yes, it is. It's not a very long play. We're able to do it in 2 sessions. We've got plenty of time to sort of dance around it a bit. So we have got, but only a certain amount of time, because I do need to move us on. Sadly, Act 2, Scene 1. Enter Poneria and Agnostus.
Bold, foolish wickedness is that which walks by day exposed to the world's eye. Sin is the daughter of the darkest night, and therefore doth abhor to come to light. Give me that coal-black sin that can lie hid under the candid robes of seeming sanctity, which dares put out the perspicacious eyes of those that shall attempt to find her out. Come, dull Agnostus, let us disguise ourselves and be prepared to act some stratagem to eclipse the glory of these festivals.
She puts on the garment. Live garment finding now in London.
This robe of virtue doth belong to me. This goodly veil shall hide my black intents. Thus personated, I durst undertake to rend a well-woven state in factious pieces, and to win the ears of mighty potentates and hoodwink kings, that they should neither see to do what's just, nor hear the piteous cries of those that are oppressed. But that thou, Agnostus, mayest second my designs, 'tis very fit thou shouldst be thus accoutred.
My dear Poneria, I'm yours.
He puts on his beard.
Then first, unto thy chin we must apply this philosophical besom. Now is the old proverb rarely performed, more hair than wit. How like a senator he looks! What a world of gravities harbored in that beard! Surely the world can take him for no other than the third Cato that should fall from heaven. But here's the ensign of learning, the badge of the 7 liberal sciences, operculum ingenii, the silken case of wit, the cap of knowledge. Clap this upon thy empty hogshead. Put this on, and then thy head will become a helicon, and thy brain a pyrene.
He puts on the cap.
It fits me exceeding well.
Dost not perceive thy head begin to ache with mere abundance of knowledge?
Now methinks I could confute a college of divines, a synod of doctors, a lyceum of philosophers. Yet methinks my brains are not right, and somewhat too weak to maintain a paradox.
Away, fond idiot! Do not conceit that this cap can infuse anything real into thy pate that is incapable of all art and science. under the protection of this cap thou mayst be bold to traduce thy betters, to censure the best, to decide controversies without discretion, to torment all companies with thy discourse, and weary ears of iron with thy impertinences. Do but wear this headpiece over the coif of self-conceit always provided, that thou forgetst not to leave off a brazen face. And I dare undertake it, thou in a short time shalt gain more respect, especially among plebeian coxcombs, than ever Pythagoras had of his auditors.
I am thy slave, divine Poneria. Oh, admirable, rare artist that I am.
But yet methinks there's somewhat else to do to make thee more accomplished and complete. Slight, the political gown. I'd as clean forgot it as the time that I since lost my maidenhead. Oops. Here 'tis. Dispatch and put it on, and then be reputed both grave, learned, and wise. Doubtless it will become thee exceeding well.
He puts on the gown.
Ooh. Now looks he not like a main stud of a corporation.
How heavy is the burden of authority?
'Tis true, authority is heavy, I confess, but not so heavy but an ass may bear it. Since now, Agnostus, that we are well fitted with habits meet to act what we intend, thou, seeming like a grave and learned sire, though thou indeed than that beest nothing less, and I, like to a virtuous maiden dight, though I all virtue deeply do abhor, we thus disguised will all the world delude and set the flowers at odds amongst themselves, that they, in civil enmities embroiled, shall of their pride and glories be despoiled.
The muhahas are extra textual.
Extra, yes.
But I don't know who got out the Tudor interlude bingo cards there, because we've got the vice characters disguise themselves to go out into the world. It's all of that stuff. Really fun stuff there. They're really enjoying the disguising, especially as they hadn't done anything since the very beginning of Act 1. But we know their evil plan. We know how long it's been since the gown was last brought out, it's really nicely put together. I'm really enjoying these two. They're really fun. Just really nice audience participation-y kind of stuff as well. Just that sense that this is very performed out. Yeah. Any thoughts in the room beyond? We just quite like that. Really, really detailed discourse there. Eric?
I just like that sort of Agnostus doesn't seem to respond to Poneria's calling him an idiot all the time. He just kind of goes, I love you, you're amazing, I worship you, you're divine. And she's like, well, you're an ass, but you're here, let's do this, let's get up to mischief. Which is kind of fun.
Yeah. Evil characters are always so much more fun than the nice ones. What can you do with nice people?
So basically, he's the Igor to Franken's.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
It's
okay.
Frankenstein. I keep telling you.
Yeah. Okay, let's run a couple of scenes into each other. Act 2, Scene 2, enter Martagon and Cynosbatus. Yes, same people, different hats.
To hinder the conjunction of those stars, we must try all our skill, Cynosbatus.
I jealous am of their malign aspect, and therefore hold it best to take away that cause which may produce such bad effects. For I shall never cease to applaud his skill, that in the shell the cockatrice doth kill.
The serpent will be hatched, I shrewdly fear, ere we the mischief can prevent, if thus we should delay to act our purposes. For late a certain rumour through mine ear did strike me to the heart, when 'twas reported that Rhodon on Hymettus hill was seen, whereby Anthophotus and his sister Iris he was with such solemnity received, that all surmise there is a match intended between the shepherd Rhodon and fair Iris.
If once they be conjoined in Hymen's rights, then all our toils ridiculous and in vain, for Hymen's obligations are, we see, seldom by any counsel, but by death.
Then let us set some stratagem abroach the cords of their new amity to break. The tender twig may easily be broke, but who's so strong to bow the sturdy oak? Our friends will say, if we procrastinate, that like the Trojans, we were wise too late.
And they exit Act 2, Scene 3. Enter Eglantine alone.
Since the gods will not my woe redress, since men are altogether pitiless, ye silent ghosts, and to my plaints give ear. Give ear, I say, ye ghosts, if ghosts can hear, and listen to my plaints that do excel the dolorous tune of ravished Philomel. Now let Ixion's wheels stand still a while. Let Danaeus' daughters now surcease their toil. Let Sisyphus rest on his restless stone. Let not the apples fly from Protus' son. And yet the full-gorged vulture cease to tear the growing liver of the ravisher. Let these behold my sorrows and confess their pains do far come short of my distress. Were I but lady of more wealthy store than e'er the sun beheld, or had I more than Midas e'er desired, I would, in brief, give all to be delivered from this grief. Rocks of rich Indian pearl, shores paved with gems, mountains of gold, and empire's diadems, these would I give, yea, and myself to boot, myself and these prostrating at his foot to enjoy him whom I do so dearly love. I me, fond love, that art a sweet, sour evil, a pleasant torture, a well-favoured devil. But why do I, weak wretch, prolong my grief? Why do I live, since death affords relief? Do thou, sweet Poneria, all my sorrows ease, that art a medicine for all grievances. Assist my hand, thou goddess of revenge, that on myself I may myself avenge.
Enter Poneria and Agnostus.
Hold thy hand, fair shepherdess. Attempt not to commit a fact so horrid.
But what fury sent you hither, Caitiff's vile, thus to prolong my sorrow and my toil?
No fury, but your happy genius brought us to these uncomfortable shades, for to prevent your mischievous intent.
Death is a plaster for all ills, they say. What mischief then can be in death, I pray?
'Tis true, death is a mortal wound that cures all wounds of body and of mind. It is the soul's potion that purgeth her from corporal pollution, but you must not your own physician prove, not be the doctor and the patient too. For if thy soul be sickly and grow weary of this unwholesome earthly habitation, because this air's spicitude suits not with her celestial constitution, she must not, like a bankrupt tenant, prove that flies by night from an unprofitable farm before the term of his lease be expired, but stay till heaven shall give her egress free unto the haven of rest and happiness.
Were I not plunged in a grievous plight, perhaps I would not think thy counsel light.
Art not thou the sister of Cynosbatus, lord of the silver mines and golden mountains? And art not thou as fair a shepherdess as trips upon the plains of Thessaly?
For being great, I am maligned by fate. For being fair, I am unfortunate.
I know thy sorrows, sweetest Eglantine. Thy Rhodon's absence hath wrought all thy woe. Who now, they say, does beauteous Iris court? But if thou wilt make me thine instrument, I'll undertake to break the match. If not, renew the love which erst he bare to thee.
Do this, and I will live, Poneria, to give thy merit ample satisfaction. I will adore thy skill, and thee adorn with what may make thee famous to all Thessaly.
Then banish all these melancholy thoughts, and deck thyself in thy most sumptuous weeds. Make haste unto the fane of gentle Venus. A pair of turtles of a snowy hue upon her altars offer thou to her, and her beseech to intercede for thee unto her angry boy. Then shalt thou find the god and goddess to true lovers kind.
My dear Poneria, I am truly thine. But tell me, I prithee, what grave sir is this that looks like one of Greece's sages? His reverent countenance makes me surmise that he's a man of sublime qualities.
He is but what he seems, fair shepherdess. His head's the officine of art, his tongue the oracle of truth. He is the man whom only nature hath vouchsafed to make her privy counsellor. Those abstruse secrets which no mortal eye did ever view, he plainly can descry. He is the man that's destined to find out that grand mysterious secret in whose discovery so many bold adventurous wits have perished. I mean, the elixir, the philosopher's precious stone. He is the man who by strange policies can break the strong confederacies of kings and overthrow more empires by his plots than mighty Alexander e'er did by strength. Agnostus is his name, renowned no less for honesty than skill in sciences.
His silence argues something extraordinary.
Belphegor, Astrogoth, Golgoth, Malcon, Malator.
Eglantine offers to fly away and is stayed by Poneria.
Find me, Poneria.
Agnostus, not a word more for thy life. Stay, stay, sweet Eglantine, and dread no harm. This is the language which the Persian Magi used when they with their familiars did converse, to which he is so frequently accustomed that oft he speaks it ere he be aware. Agnostus, vouchsafe to use your native language, that Eglantine may know you what you are. I hope you know your lesson. Twice 20 times, and 10.
Twice 20 times and 10 hath Titan run quite through the zodiac since I began to converse with wise fiends, that I might get the golden key of nature's cabinet. By industry I got immortal same, for ignorance begets contempt and shame. So perfect in the magic arts I grew, that nature's secrets most abstruse I knew. The spirits of air and earth did me dread, and did at my venite come with speed. The silly ghosts from graves I did forth call. The earth I make to bellow, stars to fall. The world at my awful charms did quake. Nature herself for very fear did shake. To change midday to midnight, or to cause estival snows, or break the viper's jaws, or to drive rivers back to their spring heads and make seas stand unmoved, or to strike dead the vernal blossom or the harvest ear. A man would think these strange conclusions were, but I account them of small weight. I know the use of herbs and whatsoever grow, the cause to the effect I can apply, and work strange things by hidden sympathize. I do exactly know the compositions of unctuous filters and love's potions, figures, suspensions, and ligations, characters, and suffumigations. For I, the virtues of all simples, know from whence effects that seem impossible I show. The gall of shriek owls and harsh night ravens' tongues, guts of panthers and chameleon's lungs, a black bull's eyes, a speckled toad's dried head, frankincense, camphire, and white poppy seed, poisonous melanthon and white cock's blood, sweet myrrh, bayberries, precious balsamwood, a hard's marrow that hath devoured a snake, and scalps which from a wild beast's jaws we take, the bone that lies in the left side of a frog, a stone that is bitten with a mad dog, the mandrake root, the blood of a black cat, the turtle's liver, the brains of a bat, hyena's heart, the cockatrice's blood, that are so many against evil's good. the hair of a thief that hangs on a tree, the nails of ships that racked be, the blood of a wretched man that was slain, the eyes of a dragon, and weasel's brains. These precious simples, and 1,000 more I could produce. I have them all in store, and though they seem to men mere trifling things, each one, I vow, are worth ransoms of kings. The blindness of these times cannot descry the virtues rare that in these simples lie.
Enough, Agnostus. Now, fair shepherdess, I hope you have a fair expression of this learned man's sublime desert and art.
I do admire his skill and see by how good stuff may be beneath a satin cap.
And they exit. Yes, what a good closing line. Yeah, I mean, that's quite a prescription. There's quite a lot of stuff. Do you get the impression that Agnostus, I mean, it's like Poneria has clearly written him his script, and, so go from that bit, because you don't trust him an inch, because he's clearly not very good at this kind of stuff. Do you think he's just gone off script and he's now just making stuff up as he's going along?
It would be nice to play it that way. It's putting me in mind, of course, of Thersites' mother and her incantation against worms, but that was for a virtuous purpose, and this is sadly not so much.
I don't know. I always read a slightly darker subtext to that scene from Thersites by Nicholas Udall, but hey, that's just me. So. Yeah, it's a really nice, that kind of gulling scene that we've had before. This playing with people. We had that short scene with Martagon and Cynosbatus, and in a sense that's all it's been so far. It's these two, the Poneria and Agnostus has dominated this act. They're really enjoying it, and there's. Yeah, there's a lot of really lovely stuff in here. And Eglantine, has to be, conned, as it were. But would have run away. Would have run away if he could. But you like his cap. He's obviously got some stuff underneath his cap. It's a good cap. Clothes maketh the man. So there. Other thoughts? Eric?
At some point I thought he was making up words like suffumigations and like all that stuff. But yeah, and like a stone that's bitten with a mad dog just seems like he got the things the wrong way around. Maybe just a little bit. I don't know.
With bitten with, I think means bitten by.
Yeah.
That time. So I don't know why the mad dog would want to bite a stone, but.
I guess because he's mad.
Well, yeah. I mean, does a mad dog have any need to have a reason? It's by its nature. And my usual reminder, just for those everyone at home, is that yes, when we refer to turtles, we are talking about turtle doves, not your actual tortoise. So, if you are imaging, two turtles, then. That's not what's going on there. So yeah, I get that it's a very effective scene. It's really fun. It's got bounce and you've got plenty to play with as well. From the genuine emotion of Eglantine to the playful playing with things. I'd say we have this tiny scene with Martagon and Cynosbatus, which is primarily there to sort of separate the two Poneria scenes, but it does also serve a certain thing. He's now heard about the match between Rhodon and Fair Iris, so he's now up to speed of where his enemies are at, or interests are at, and things like that. Any other thoughts before we move on? We have a few more scenes to do, a couple more scenes to do. Eric.
I feel like Poneria and Agnostus are kind of in like a version of the producers or something, where they're trying to con people into giving them stuff or doing good stuff. Like I don't know, it's just like there's no real I don't know, they're trying to upset this thing, but like it's already upset for no apparent reason.
Yeah, I mean, they don't exactly have a massive motivation here. They are very much just doing evil for evil's sake, and they are caught in this sort of con situation, which we know well from other things. Okay, let's go into Act 2, Scene 4. Enter Rhodon, Martagon, Violetta. Have we met Violetta yet? We haven't, have we? And Acanthus.
No, Martagon, that as no dynasties can stand, no empires long subsist unless they be supported by the columns of true equity, so shall that government of thine decay, since thy oppression makes the weak a prey.
'Tis no oppression for to punish those that have transgressed the laws, as I suppose.
The laws, Colossus, proud, unjust tyrant, that dost observe nor equity nor law, but by the torrent of ambition hurried, dost act what lawless passion prompts thee to. What laws have I transgressed? It is thy might that into seeming wrong hath changed our right. Had fortune been as just as was our cause, we that are censured now for breach of laws, maugre thy viperous hate, had now been free, and for thy foul injustice censured thee.
And is your pride, virago, still so high that it doth overtop your misery? Cannot sorrow strike thee dumb? Can no disaster the liberty of thy tongue overmaster?
Nay, be assured, proud man, not any smart can cure the courage of a valiant heart, nor no force a heart of adamant can break, and losers must and shall have leave to speak.
No more, Acanthus. Hear me, Martagon. Wilt thou give Violetta what's her own? Wilt thou restore her right and due possessions, and make a recompense for all oppressions, that happy peace with joy and plenty crowned may in the fields of Thessaly be found?
This will I do. When seas shall be drunk dry by Phoebus' beams, and when the lesser stars shall drink the streams, this will I do. When of my life and freedom I am weary, non minor est virtus quam quaerere parta tueri.
And before this guiltless woman shall endure such shameful injuries, thyself assure I'll empty all these azure rivulets of their vermilion streams, and quite discharge this contaminated bulk of mine of living air, and stretched upon the gelid bed of death, all to the world this epitaph bequeath. Here lies a swain that spent his dearest blood to kill a tyrant for a virgin's good.
Bold hero, do thy worst. What I have won, I ne'er will part withal till life be done.
Tenacious tyrant, in whose flinty heart nor equity nor justice e'er had part, assure thyself, thy guilty soul shall feel revenge's hand, armed with a scourge of steel.
Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. Scene to close Act 2. So, yeah, you're definitely starting to get a feel that there is a plot now motoring along, whereas Act 1 felt it was sort of world building, defining relationships between people. Act 2 is definitely the stuff is now ticking along quite nicely. I say nicely. And, yeah, we're having this squaring off. It's sketched in quite lightly. It wasn't a long scene, but then it didn't need to be really. It's just you get your tractors off my grass. Is the sort of basic thing, and he's saying no, I'm not going to do that. Not until the sun has melted or boiled the seas into the skies. Desna.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, that bit reminded me of the bit before where we had all the kind of, not opposites exactly, but, you know, those kind of, when something impossible happens, that's when I'll fall in love. So that was, who was that earlier on? Agnostus? Acanthus?
Acanthus, yeah.
Somebody beginning with A. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and Acanthus is all happy to do bloodletting, death, destruction and things. So it's and this thing, pastoral is never that far away from acts of horrible violence. It's something. It's sort of this. People have this idea that pastorals are all lovely dancing flowers, but it's often really quite aggressive and horrible actually underneath the surface, and it comes out a bit out of the blue sometimes. But this one, at least, we've had a sort of build of an arms race. We've seen this coming for a while. Any other thoughts before we read our final scene of the session, Eric?
I like how you've got the whole like sort of Acanthus. As soon as he says something, Rhodon goes, "Be quiet! You're gonna get us in trouble now." Let me do the talking, and then like as soon as like they realize that sort of Martagon, nothing is going to convince Martagon. They kind of, Acanthus basically takes on the whole like war vibe.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, Rhodon is trying to negotiate with someone who has no interest in actually negotiating, whereas Acanthus is just going, yeah, 'cause it has a certain scrappy-do quality to him, actually, isn't it? Desna.
I feel that I have to comment on the Violetta's very much described as a virago and told to shut up. So the sort of inherent misogyny in the text.
Yes, Martagon is
specifically by that Martagon.
Yeah. He is there just wandering around throwing slurs in that sense, of which we have absolutely no evidence that anyone else in the text thinks this is so, or there's any basis on that. Any other thoughts? Okay, well let's see where we're going at the beginning of Act 3. Act 3, Scene 1. Enter Clematis solo.
Well, if I were but once rid of her service, if I ever served lovesick mistress again, I would feed all my lifetime on Agnostus and give all the world leave to let me die a maid. I even spoiled a good mother wit with beating my head about these knickknacks, which my mistress, Madam Eglantine, hath enjoined me to procure her. For now, seduced by the old bawd Poneria, she thinks to recover her old sweetheart, Rhodon. Here is a catalogue as tedious as a tailor's bill of all the devices which I am commanded to provide. Videlicet. Chains, coronets, pendants, bracelets, and earrings, pins, girdles, spangles, embroideries, rings, shadows, rubatos, ribbons, ruffs, cuffs, and falls, scarfs, feathers, fans, masks, muffs, laces, and galls, thin Tiffany's, cobweb lawn, and farthingales, sweet balls, veils, wimples, glasses, crisping pins, pots, ointments, combs with poking sticks and bodkins, coifs, gorgets, fringes, rolls, fillets, and hair laces, silks, damasks, velvet, tinsels, cloth of gold, and tissue, with colors of 100-fold.
Enter Gladiolus.
Yeah, but in her tires, so newfangled is she, that which doth with her humour now agree, tomorrow she dislikes. Now doth she swear that a loose body is the neatest wear, but ere an hour be gone, she will protest a straight gown graceth her proportion best. Now calls she for a boisterous farthingale, then to her hips she'll have her garments fall. Now doth she praise a sleeve that's long and wide, and yet by and by that fashion doth deride. Sometimes she applauds a pavement-sweeping train, and presently dispraiseth it again. Now she commends a shallow band so small that it may scarce seem any band at all. But soon to a new fancy doth she reel, and calls for one as big as a coach wheel. She'll wear a flowery coronet today, the symbol of her beauty's sad decay. Tomorrow she a waving plume will try, the emblem of all female lenity. Now in her hat, then in her hair she's dressed. For of all fashions she thinks change the best. Ooh.
Good fellow servant, honest Clematis, let me conclude thy tedious tale with this. I say the restless sea and flitting wind are constant in respect of womankind.
Nor in her weeds alone is she so nice, but rich perfumes she buys at any price. Storax and spikenard she burns in her chamber, and daubs herself with civet, musk, and amber. With limbex, vials, pots, her closets filled, full of strange liquors by rare art distilled. She hath vermilion and antimony, ceruse and sublimated mercury. Waters she hath to make her face to shine, confections eke to clarify her skin, lip salves and clothes and cloths of a pure scarlet dye she hath, which to her cheeks she doth apply, ointments wherewith she pargets o'er her face, and lustrifies her beauty's dying grace. She waters for the Morpheus doth compose, and many other things as strange as those, some made of daffodils, some of lees, of scarwolf, some, and some of rinds of trees. With centaury, sour grapes, and tarragon, she maketh many a strange lotion. Her skin she can both supple and refine with juice of lemons, and with turpentine. The marrow of the hernshaw and the deer she takes likewise to make her skin look clear. Sweet waters she distills, which she composes of flowers of orange, woodbine, or roses. The virtue of jasmine and three-leaved grass she doth imprison in a brittle glass, with civet, musk, and odors far more rare. These liquors sweet incorporated are. Lees can she make which turn a hair that's old or colored ill into a hue of gold. Of horses, bears, cats, camels, conies, snakes, whales, herons, bitters, strange oils she makes, with which Dame Nature's errors she corrects, using art's help to supply all defects. She in the milk of asses bathes her skin, as did the beautiful Poppaea when she tempted Nero to forsake the bed of great Octavia and herself to wed.
If there be any gentlewoman here that will, with gracious acceptance, use the service of a tattling chambermaid, I would advise her to make choice of this Frischetta. This is as chaste as Helen, or Corinthian lace, as chary of bewraying secrets as was Echo. Oh, she would prove a rare privy counsellor in some great lady's privy chamber. The perpetual motion for which artists have so laboured is discovered nowhere so plainly as in her tongue, which scarce finds any leisure to rest. No, not when she is asleep. But of courtesy she is so charitable and so heroically magnificent that she will both vouchsafe to commiserate the low estate of our humble groom of the stable, and also satisfy the desire of a high and mighty gentleman usher. In a kiss or any other amorous encounter, gentlemen, believe me in few, she is a pearl, whose worth the age cannot value. If there be any gentleman here that will bestow a small pension upon her, with a kiss or two once a fortnight, to make her his intelligentsia of state in his wife's commonwealth, I will undertake she will be able to make good a faction against his wife, as she was Amazon's stomach and Zobe's or Xenophyte's tongue.
Out, prattling parakeeto, come you hither to abuse me? Take this for your pains.
Now, thank thy stars that with a female signature did stamp thy sex, audacious strumpet. Shall I draw? No, now, I think not, I will not. For reason and experience shows that no man gain repute by drawing against a woman.
Stripling, just think I fear a naked blade. I'll meet thee where thou darest, and whip thee too for thy unruly tongue, thy sauciness.
Well, minion, remember this. If I do not cry you quit for this abuse, then let me ne'er be trusted. Your mistress shall know how you have used me, so she shall.
Skipjack, tell what you can. I weigh it not this. I'll make you know that you have done amiss.
And exit. With more physical violence, perhaps. So there's quite a lot going on there. And we didn't really talk about how, because Clematis is talking about Eglantine, and because we didn't talk about earlier about Eglantine. She did try to kill herself. We didn't actually talk about that. And this is sort of this sort of weird irony to that earlier scene with Poneria. Is in a sense Poneria did a good deed by doing, what's the worst that she's done so far is introduce her to an awful lot of, I mean, at the moment, Poneria is sort of basically goop.
She stopped her killing herself.
Yeah.
And she made her obsessed with cosmetics instead.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a slightly problematic way of living your life, but it's better than the alternative. So in a sense, I'm not seeing her as a terrible agent of evil yet. I mean, if she's trying to be evil, she's not doing it very well. Desna.
Yeah, I thought that as well. And I kind of felt that Poneria had kind of rescued Eglantine from herself a little bit. But now that this kind of like this list of concoctions has come up, and I'm kind of wondering where this is going, because Poneria's got a plan which is shared with Eglantine, to bust up Rhodon and Iris. Is that right? I might be confused because there's quite a few potential couples now. But anyway, so I'm just wondering whether she's using Eglantine as a patsy in this. And so if all this kind of good deeds that we're seeing her do, this might all come crashing down a little bit. That's, my prediction or my question.
Well, it's also, I'm assuming there's also a sort of in-event logic of let's list a whole series of plants and herbs and things that might be useful. So I've just been picking out Culpepper's herbal. So I thought because suddenly I'd found something I could look up, and I was going, spignol. Roots of common spignol do spread much and deep in the ground. Many strings or branches grow from one head, which is hairy at the top, of a blackish brown colour on the outside and white within, of a pleasant smell and aromatic taste, whence rise sundry long stalks of fine leaves like hairs, smaller than dill, set thick on both sides of the stalk, and of a good scent. It grows wild in Lancashire, Yorkshire and other northern counties, and is also planted in gardens. There's an awful lot more on that, yes. So we've got all of these sort of elements here. I mean, obviously, there's also because we've got this Gladiolus coming in, and so we've got this exchange that is doing all sorts of different things, and sometimes having its cake and eating it. So I'm sort of interested in how this scene is progressing and what's actually going on here, what it's doing, because in a sense, Clematis is going, well, it's all excessive what my mistress is doing. This is ridiculous. But then Gladiolus sort of weighs in, and immediately Clematis goes, well, no, I wasn't going that direction. Stop it, and starts hitting him. I don't know, Gladiolus. It was man, wasn't it? I'm completely confused as to which gender anyone is in this play. Which is anyway, Rachel.
I was just going to ask, how much do you think we should be making of the plant names, and to what extent plant attributes are feeding into characterization? Rhodon Rose is sort of the romantic who clearly also has thorns enough to threaten someone with steel. And in the last scene, I can kind of imagine a sort of flailing Clematis slapping someone, and then Gladioli are sort of these kind of almost quite stern-looking plants. There's a bit of a sort of sword-like imagery there. So I was wondering how much we're supposed to be literalizing plant
Mm.
Very nice.
Yeah.
As it were.
I mean, because it's a costuming question, isn't it? I mean, it's, what do these figures look like? I mean, I jokingly put in the chat, I think they should all look very literally like flowers, so that when you get to the curtain call, they can all bunch together, and you can create a lovely little configuration as a lovely picture. And is there something going on there with the way the flowers interact, and are there combinations of flowers that are more naturally go together or don't go together, or things that only someone who knows about flowers would be able to say? I don't know. Any other thoughts on this closing exchange, Liza?
Well, a lot of these cosmetics that Clematis relates in her second speech, they wouldn't do you any harm. They're things that are still often things that are still used. Things like, orange flower water, lemon juice. I guess it's an astringent. Even sour grapes. Like there was one of the upmarket chains used to promote a moisturizer made with grape must or something. So maybe not ass's milk, but I don't have personal experience of that. Probably. Anyway, I kind of love in all of this. I kind of love Clematis, or possibly Clematis. She's a character who, it seems, cannot help but gossip, and she's sort of irrepressible. And I love how she just flings the fourth wall aside and comes and talks to the audience, and is just like, oh my god, because she has the long speech at the beginning of exposition of like who's shagged who and who broke up with who, and she's like, oh my god, and then oh my god, she dumped him, and now she's like, oh my god, she wants to become like a makeup influencer or something, but like, so she's going to open like Jacobean Sephora.
Yeah, it's when you start turning into Gwyneth Paltrow. This is what's going to happen there. And also
we haven't had quite that far. We haven't had like rocks for your hoo-ha.
Yeah, but give it time. And we had that list as well, the earlier list with all the things that that you've been commanded to buy, which it's very similar to some of the peddler lists that we've had in much earlier plays, and I'm not sure. I need to go back, because it's some of that I'm sort of going, hang on, is this actually just lifted from an earlier text? Because it's awfully similar.
Well, it's not just it's not just a peddler list, although there's stuff that peddlers sell in there, but there's stuff that's too upmarket for a peddler to sell. There's stuff you'd have to go to a specialized merchant for, things like coifs and gorgets and silks, damask, velvet, tinsels, cloth of gold. So it's I mean, basically, Eglantine's next entrance had better be a huge costume payoff after this build-up, because I think that's what this speech is for.
Other thoughts? Actually, we should go to final thoughts, shouldn't we? Final thoughts in the room. Eric, any final thoughts about the play so far? I'm liking it. Despite its very specific performance context, I think it's got reasonable legs. I think once you don't need to make it too Norwich Florist Festival centric, but hey, it's still sort of going on, so you never know. There might be a context in which to perform it in. Eric.
Yeah, I agree. I like the characters so far. I like the way they're drawn out. Kind of, you can tell who's who, even if you get confused about the relationships between them. I was going to say Clematis at the beginning of this reminded me of like Dominant Doughty from Royster Doyster, who's like, Royster Doyster, who's basically running between houses to get like a ring sorted and like stuff, which is just weird. And like he's one of those complaining characters who's like, why are we doing this? Why is my master singing crap songs and thinking that he's awesome at like 2 a.m. in the morning, 2 in the morning. But yeah, whereas this seems to be a reverse of like she's amazing, but she doesn't know how amazing she is. But now she wants all this stuff. We don't really understand why Eglantine is brought into this, but it's not bad because she's alive. Yay! So I'm kind of feeling like this is like a mix of things, sort of like a bit of a fairy tale where you've got like the evil characters going, yes, and I will give you this lovely apple for the price of, like it's very Snow White kind of thing. You like Poneria is kind of like, and look, you can take this lovely apple with you. Nothing bad would happen to you if you eat it. It feels a bit like that, but then I really want to know what happens next because it's just fun. Aside from the misogyny, yeah.
Yes, but that so far that is mostly character driven. I don't know if the text is quite fully going all the way there, but there's it's usually baked in a little bit. We do need to look at that. And see, it partly depends on how the play ends, as is always the way of these things. We've been here before. Desna, any final thoughts?
Not a huge amount. I'm enjoying it. It's really, I'm intrigued and I want to know how it sort of pans out. There's so many threads, and although I feel like I can see a little bit into the future, I also feel like there's turns that could happen and twists that could kind of disrupt your expectations. So want to know more.
Yes. Tom, any final thoughts?
I like the Snow White and the eating of the poison apple. I thought that was that moved it for me. But otherwise, it's just normal for Norfolk, really.
Rachel, any final thoughts?
Just on what Desna was saying, I think we can see the future a bit. And the comment that you made before about the similarity between Martagon's speech and the earlier one from Acanthus, when hell freezes over, I think that sort of marked out his fate, really. He's going to be eating his words, I feel fairly confident in saying. Anyway.
And I like your comment in the chat. Chelsea flower show. I mean, if there are flowers or any of these things, then there is a sort of market for this, isn't there? So yeah, event-based performances. Dig the show out every year, and do all the flower shows until everyone's really sick of hearing about them. Liza, any final thoughts?
Only that I like this play. It's fun. It's much more fun than I thought an entertainment written for florists would be. I'm invested. I want to know what happens to all our favorite shepherds and witches.
And almost Eric.
No, I was just remembering that you'd said at the beginning where you were kind of like, oh yeah, it seems like PG rated, and then we got the comment about like, I almost forgot about the gown that I hadn't cleaned since I had sex like for the first time, and it's like, what?
Yes, I did like that line.
I mean, whomst among us?
Yes. And just on the sort of list thing that Clematis does there, if we go almost exactly 100 years earlier in John Hayward's The Four Ps, we have gloves, pins, combs, glasses unspotted, pomanders, hooks and laces knotted, brooches, rings and all manner beads, lace round and flat for women's heeds, needles, thread, timbrels, shears and all such knacks, where lovers be, no such things lacks. So the form of the game is sort of there.
Round and flat for women's heads, it should be. Remember those little lace coifs that you see?
Yeah, I was dancing around original spelling and how it rhymes. I
was a fool to doubt you.
Yes, we will return to Act 3 next time when we complete the text and find out what happens in Rhodon and Iris. All that remains, thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful readings. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Guts of Panthers.